Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're gonna take a look at some moves that got added to legendary Pokemon, which are not in the game yet, but most are going to be available very soon then. So, going to be interesting. Yesterday evening, 11 Pokemon got new moves, or like in general moves, because they didn't have moves at all in the Game Master before. So it's going to be very interesting to take a look at them, and a lot of them are most likely going to be released very soon in Pokemon Go. So let's take a look at them, but also before that, maybe try to subscribe to the channel, would really appreciate it. But let's move on to the first Pokemon. Actually, it's been 12 Pokemon that got move updates. One of them is going to be Annihilate, which I don't have in this video, which got access to the move Shadow Ball now. Most likely they're going to change the moveset again, I would imagine, but we don't know yet. But otherwise, I made a video about Annihilate and top teams and IVs that you want to have for this Pokemon yesterday, so definitely check this video out as well. But let's move right on into the video. First Pokemon that got added in terms of like moves as well as stats was Poipole. This Pokemon is a pure poison type Pokemon. It's an Ultra Beast and it has access to the moves Poison Jab, Peck. Like Peck is still pretty bad. Maybe a future they gotta give it a move update. Sludge Bomb, Sludge Wave, and Felt Stinger. This is a pre-evolution actually, which is kind of interesting because it's the only Ultra Beast that can evolve, which you're gonna take a look at afterwards. But this Pokemon is actually eligible for the Great League. And interestingly enough, it can do a little bit at least, going to be able to beat something like an Azumarill, something like a Medicham, something like a Poliwrath, but it's not going to be the greatest Pokemon. It's still a fun Pokemon here to have, just for like some funny spice. Like if you're gonna be able to get multiple of them, I would definitely try to get them as well, and basically try to get like multiple Poipole. It would be really cool, because like if you're gonna get like a Poipole for the Great League, it would be nice, but also of course you kind of want to evolve it into Naganadel. This Pokemon is a Poison and Dragon type Pokemon, so basically it's Duragulgy for the Master League, but the moveset is also a little bit lackluster, I would say. Like I wish there would be some better moves on this Pokemon. It still has Poison Jab, which is kind of fine. Sludge Bomb kind of fine. Felt Stinger, I guess, is the best secondary move for it. Acrobatics also kind of makes maybe some sense, but also not really, because if you think about it, what does Acrobatics really hit? It hits Fighting type Pokemon, it hits Grass type Pokemon, it hits like Bug type Pokemon, but all of them kind of already struggle against the Poison typing anyway. So Felt Stinger most likely as a bait move, and also to boost your own attack is the best move option for it. You see ours on the left side also the attack, weight, and also like defense and stamina stats for this Pokemon. But yeah, Poison Dragon is a theoretically cool type, but sadly, like as you're gonna see as well, you basically get hard-walled by half of the meta with this kind of Pokemon, so unlikely that this is going to have any kind of play in the Master League or any kind of league, which is kind of sad because I feel like this is a very cool Pokemon, but there are more Ultra Beasts to come. Next one, going to be Stakataka, and this Pokemon is kind of sad as well. Basically, what I was hoping for this Pokemon is that they give it Superpower. It does learn Superpower, and it would help this Pokemon out quite a bit, because now at the current moveset, which is going to have with Rock Throw, Takedown, nobody needs Takedown. Rock Throw is already a little bit bad, to be fair, as well. Like Smackdown would have been cooler. Flash Cannon, Bulldoze, as well as Stone Edge, which also again like Rock Slide would have been cool for this Pokemon, which it learns. You're going to struggle a little bit against a lot of Pokemon actually, and especially against Steel type Pokemon with this thing here. So like if you had something like a Superpower on this Pokemon, it would have been so much cooler. But still, like the stats actually for this Pokemon are really cool. You see it on the left side. Pretty mediocre attack, like pretty okay attack there, but crazy good at defense for the Master League as well. So it's a very bulky Pokemon with a very defensive typing, which is kind of cool, like the Aggron with the Rock and Steel typing here. But as you're gonna see, you have some matchups that are kind of favorable for you, especially the Ho-Oh matchup, of course. But otherwise, there are a lot of them that you don't really want to face. And so this Pokemon is most likely not really ideal. But still, interesting Pokemon. Like the design, I definitely one of those Pokemon like Stakataka, Poipole, and Naganadel, and also the next Pokemon, Blacephalon, were kinda teased to be available very soon in Pokemon Go, so most likely next month already, which like people thought, or like what people kinda leaked before, so that's going to be interesting. So definitely stay tuned for those Pokemon as well. They got very likely coming into the game very soon. And Blacephalon is out of them all definitely the most interesting one. Also for the people that don't do PvP, this Pokemon will be very interesting because it's most likely going to be the best fire type or maybe even ghost type attacker that is not like mega evolved or shadow for the, just in general for raids. Because you see here already, it has a 315 attack stat, which is kind of wild. Like defense and stamina is horrific for this Pokemon, but like the attack stat is really crazy. And the moves that it got was also kind of nice. We have Incinerate and Astonish, which are really decent. I mean, especially Incinerate is very, very decent for this Pokemon. We have Mystical Fire, which is an Icy Wind clone, I think, as a Fire type, which is really, really cool. Not a lot of Pokemon have this currently, but this would really help out this Pokemon with the bulk issue that it has currently. And then you're going to have Shadow Ball and Overheat for like some nuke moves, which is really, really good as well. So I'm kind of curious on how good this Pokemon actually going to be. The overall stat product is actually kind of funny because it's below 5,000. There's sometimes even Ultra League Pokemon that have higher stat product than this one, which is kind of funny. But also, if you look at Zygarde, Zygarde has something over 10,000, so like it's double the bulk of this one here. So it's definitely a glass cannon, but I feel like it has a little bit of play, and I feel like it's going to be a funny Pokemon to use. Still not going to be the best one for PvP, but for PvE, most likely going to be one of the best raid attackers. So definitely something that you kind of want to pick up. Next Pokemon is going to be the only mythical Pokemon on this list. Kinda sad that Marshadow didn't get its moves yet, because like Marshadow is one of the Pokemon that I'm looking forward to the most, or something like Magearna would be really cool. But I think, I don't know actually if Magearna already has the moves, but I don't know. But yeah, we're going to see here the Zeraora. Zeraora is getting access to Spark, Volt Switch, and then like the stuff that kinda disappoints me a little bit are the charge moves. You have Wild Charge, Thunder Punch, and Discharge. Like, how much electric type coverage do you need? Niantic? Yes. Of course, all the moves can still change before the Pokemon coming into the game. What I would have liked to see for this Pokemon as well would be either Superpower or Close Combat, because it is kind of like a fighting style electric type. A lot of people were curious why this didn't get the electric and fighting typing in the first place. So not having the fighting type coverage really hurts this Pokemon, sadly. And still would be a very cool one though. Like, the max TP is going to be 3,865, as you can see here. If we're gonna get this Pokemon, I'm still gonna max it immediately. Like, I'm waiting basically for a new mythical to get released to use my Rare XL. Can you have like nearly 500 soon of them? So that's going to be kind of nice. So definitely going to showcase this Pokemon. If we're going to be able to, if we're gonna be able to get it in Pokemon Go, I'm definitely gonna showcase it immediately. But let's take a look what this can actually do here. It actually still has some very positive matchups, which is kind of funny. Mainly because of Wild Charge plus Volt Switch, which is going to do a ton of damage, and still you're going to have some fairly decent stats. So I'm going to be curious on how this Pokemon going to actually function, but if you're gonna get this Pokemon, you know already I'm going to showcase it for sure. But yeah, let's move on to the next Pokemon coming up. This is going to be one of the new legendary Pokemon from the newest generation. Here we're going to take a look at the Ultra League variant of this one, because you see the max CP on the left side as well, 3,320. It is kind of low for the Master League. It is not crazy low, like you can still even play it, but if you're going to take a look at the stat distribution here, you're going to see that the attack stat is the lowest one of them all. Decent defense, like really good defense to be fair, and decent stamina. Having access to the moves Magical Leaf and Snarl kind of depends on what you want to run really for them. Like, both of them are fine. I went for Snarl, which does give you a little bit of better matchup. And then you have as charge moves Dark Pulse, Grass Knot, and Leaf Storm. Leaf Storm, I see also some play for it. I think Grass Knot and Dark Pulse is a little bit more consistent, which also showed the calculations for it. But yeah, this Pokemon most likely has a little bit of play, but there are going to be some Pokemon available later on as well, which you're going to see very, very soon. They're going to be really, really strong for the Master League especially, so stay tuned for this. But yeah, this Pokemon still, I feel like, has a little bit of play. The typing itself, Shift retyping, is a little bit awkward because they have a lot of weaknesses with this, like Fire, Flying, Fighting. Yeah, double weakness to Bug. There are a lot of the weaknesses, sadly. Fairy type weakness, like, it's a very, very bad defensive typing, I would say. But still, I feel like with the bulk that it has, it still has a little bit of play here. Moving on, we're going to have one of the Pokemon that I am looking forward to the most. It's going to be Chien-Pao, which is going to have access to the fast moves Powder Snow and Snarl. Both are going to be Stab, which are going to be great. And then you're going to have Dark Pulse, Avalanche, and Blizzard. This Pokemon is basically just an upgrade for Weavile, because having access to Powder Snow is way better than Ice Shard, which Weavile has. Snarl is something that you don't really want to use for this Pokemon anyway, but Powder Snow is really, really great for this one. And then you still have access to Avalanche and Dark Pulse for like double stab coverage, which is going to be really great for this Pokemon as well. We see the stats are really decent as well, decent attack stat there, okay defense, okay stamina, not like too crazy, but if we take a look at what it can do, we're going to see that this Pokemon has a lot of play, and I'm kind of curious on how good this Pokemon actually going to be. I'm also kind of curious on how you lose against Groudon with this Pokemon, but yeah, maybe they bait you first with Fire Punch and then hit you with the Pressur's Blade or whatever, but I think it should be a decent matchup for you usually. But yeah, definitely a Pokemon that I'm looking forward to. I think this is going to be a fun one to play. Chien-Pao also like looks just like a cool Pokemon in my opinion. But let's move on to Pokemon number 8 for today. This Pokemon is going to be most likely the most busted one out of all of those like 4 Dark-type Pokemon that are legendary from the new generation. Ting-Lu going to have access to Mudshot and Snarl, which are really great fast moves. Dark Pulse, Boulders, and Earthquake are okay. Like, I wish there would be like something cheaper than this, but Dark Pulse and Earthquake going to give you double stab. But if you take a look at the stats now, you're going to see already the overall rating. If you remember the overall rating of basically the Blacephalon, you saw that it was below 5,000. This overall rating is above 9,000. Means this Pokemon is insanely bulky. Like, this Pokemon is literally the craziest tank. I would imagine that this Pokemon also has some play for the Ultra League when this Pokemon gonna be available. So definitely pick one up for that as well, like most likely something similar to like Giratina in terms of the bulk level there. But as you're gonna see here, lowest attack stat, a little bit higher in defense, and really crazy stamina stat, plus decent fast move, decent charge moves, going to make this Pokemon a very big threat for the Master League. Very solid Pokemon, and I can't wait for this. I feel like it's a really cool Pokemon because, again, like, this Pokemon is not insanely busted either. Like, it is still a very solid Pokemon that can break the meta, but it's not like this Pokemon doesn't have an answer. Here we see already Zeraora, but like, if you just think about it, if you have a Togekiss against you, like, this Pokemon has basically 0 to do. And so, like, there are definitely a lot of answers for this Pokemon. Anything that kind of is flying that isn't Lugia, which is kind of funny because you actually can beat Lugia with this Pokemon. This thing is definitely going to be something that you want to pick up when it's going to be available in the game. The next Pokemon going to be the final Dark-type legendary from this generation, which is going to be Chien-Pao, which is going to be honestly one of my favorite legendaries in terms of the design. I just like this Pokemon so much. Like, it looks like so cool. Like, it's so based like on like, it's literally just a goldfish, but like, it looks so cool. And if you ever seen the shiny Pokemon of this one, it's most likely one of the best shinies that exist in the game. It's just like blue and dark. It's just it honestly looks like so crazy good. I can't wait for this Pokemon to be available. And luckily, this Pokemon also got an insanely good moveset. It has the same like typing basically as the Houndour, or the evolution of it, of course. But we're gonna see as well that this Pokemon gets up to 3,908 CP, which is really decent as well. Having an attack stat that is fairly decent, good defense stat, pretty bad stamina stat to be fair, but that doesn't really matter because I feel like this Pokemon is going to be a lot of fun to play. Incinerate plus Flame Charge plus Dark Pulse makes it a really cool sweeper as well for the Master League, and actually has a lot of play as well. And I feel like it has even more play if you play it right and just use it like as a sweeper and trying to win endgame with the Flame Charge boost. I feel like this Pokemon has a lot of play. I don't think that the current meta is really beneficial for it though, because like, you have a lot of Dragon-type Pokemon, which is going to make this a little bit more awkward. But still, I feel like this Pokemon is just a fun one to play. You can still beat something even like a Zacian, I think, with this Pokemon as well, depending on the moveset, to be fair, because you're still going to be weak to close combat, which is kind of awkward. So yeah, but still, I feel like this is going to be a fun one to play. And we can now move on to the box art legendaries for the new generation. I can talk a little bit about why I think those are going to be available very soon as well. If we take a look in what happened to Generation 8, we saw that the Zacian and Zamazenta are already in the game, while completely the rest of the generation isn't really. And I feel like this might happen again this summer, because Niantic is very kind of, I don't know, like, it tries to always promote like the main series games, like they kind of go hand in hand. And so I would imagine that we're gonna get those Pokemon fairly soon actually into raids as well. Like, I would imagine like somewhere at the end of the Go Fest in summer, I could see those Pokemon getting released just as like a final promo for the new games. And also, what happened for the new games currently is that a lot of videos on YouTube got blocked where they showcased the shiny variants of Koraidon and Miraidon. So I'm fairly certain that they might actually just try to release them as well. Maybe through Pokemon Go, who knows. But like, those Pokemon are going to be very interesting, and I could see them actually getting released fairly soon. The thing with Koraidon here as well, this Pokemon is a fighting and dragon type Pokemon. Same as basically the Komao. Komao also has the same typing, and you also have basically the same type of moveset that you want to run. You have Dragon Tail, you have Dragon Claw, and you have Close Combat. So you have basically double step the entire way through, which is kind of nice. But also, you just have a very good combination of moves. You still have Dragon-type damage with your fast move, which does a ton of damage there. You have a fast Dragon-type charge move, which is more like of a bait. And then you have a nuke move with the other stab type, which is just really great for the Master League. The stat product is really strong as well. Like, honestly, it's just like basically for most of the main legendaries, like kind of same CP, kind of same stats, very good attack, very good defense, very good stamina, just a really, really good Pokemon. And if you take a look on how good this is actually going to be, you see already that this Pokemon is going to be top tier meta, most likely something like rank 1 for Master League as well, or like rank 2 or something after like Zygarde and stuff like this. But this is going to be one of the best Pokemon that you can pick up when it's going to be available, if they're going to keep this moveset, of course. And then again, it has a signature move, which is, I think, Collision Course, I think it's called, which is going to be also a fighting type move, which I could see being something like, I don't know, an Avalanche clone or something again, which might be even interesting over close combat then. But yeah, this Pokemon is going to be very, very cool. Can't wait to see this Pokemon in game. But of course, there's another box art legendary, which you're gonna take a look at right now, which is Miraidon, and this Pokemon is sadly kinda, yeah, lackluster, sadly. The issue for this Pokemon is you just don't have any kind of fast charge moves to get to with the current moveset. You have Thunder Shock, of course, if you want to actually generate energy a little bit faster, but I feel like Dragon Breath is just so much better than Thunder Shock. Thunder Shock doesn't do damage, Dragon Breath does a ton of damage and gives you a lot of potential of farming down opponents, having pressure against other Dragon-type Pokemon, for example. But right now you have a moveset of Thunder and Outrage, and of course Hyper Beam and Dragon Pulse, which are kinda bad then. And so this Pokemon, before it gets its own move, which I think is Electro Drift or something like this it's called, it's going to be not really the best Pokemon to have, but still, can't wait for the other Pokemon, for Koraidon, to be released, and also can't wait for actually like those 4 Dark-type legendary Pokemon as well. Those are going to be very, very cool. Blacephalon also has some play, so definitely some interesting Pokemon here. Let me know in the comment section which Pokemon you're most excited for. Hope you enjoyed this video. You're gonna see some top teams for the Great League Lane as well, 20 legend teams for you, so you can definitely climb some elo for the upcoming week, where you're going to be even able to do 10 sets a day. So definitely stay tuned for this, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.